My guest this week is Mike O'Brien, and we're discussing OB1 Financial. What is OB1 Financial? Why did he create OB1 Financial? And who is OB1 Financial aimed at? Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast with me, Craig Skelton. Join me every week while we're developing your knowledge to help you build a successful mortgage broker business. My guest this week is Michael O'Brien, creator and owner of OB1 Financial. We talk about what OB1 Financial is, why did he create OB1 Financial, and who is OB1 Financial aimed at. So welcome to the podcast, Mike. How are you?
Oh, thanks, Greg. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, really well. Sun's shining, so it's a good day. Yeah.
Brilliant. So thanks. First of all, I just want to say thanks for being part of the podcast, coming onto the podcast. And we were just talking a little bit before I hit the record button. The first thing I want to do is just for everybody to understand who you are, your sort of journey today. I actually listened to your podcast with Alex Curtis earlier on in the week, and I think it was over the weekend, and I didn't realise that we worked at Countrywide together. So you was Entwistle Green, I was Bridgeford's back in 2010. So I didn't realise we had a bit of a crossover, and it wasn't until that I listened to that podcast that I knew we got a bit of a crossover in our journey. So, but yeah, just to, like I said, thank you for being part of the podcast. Just the idea was, as we were talking about, was that one of the podcasts we recorded a few weeks ago, one of the early ones was with Nick Mayer, who's owner of London Mortgage Solutions, who was part of a network, was an AR, but then went directly authorised. And that's been one of the most popular listened to, downloaded podcasts that I've done. So it seemed right. I know that you are a man of many talents and various other fingers in various pies going on, and plenty for you to worry about. And one of the things I want to sort of try and home on a little bit was about going DA and how you help ARs going DA, or how that's all gets set up, really. But just first of all, do you want to just get as a brief history of who, what, where, how in your journey today within financial services?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, just a whistle-stop tour, really. I mean, I started with Countrywide on the estate agency side of the business many moons ago. Did sort of my first real job, if you will, after coming out of university and running nightclubs and stuff. Settled into estate agency. And then spent a bit of time with Countrywide, then went on and did a couple of other bits and pieces. So digital marketing, I did some of that with the guys over at Money Supermarket. Then I got into financial services really as a life insurance broker back in 2009, 2010. Did a bit of the insurance and then ran sort of on a self-employed basis a life insurance company whilst doing lead generation for Jaguar Land Rover. So I spent 3 years there, and then I did some work with unsecured lenders as well, a couple of years doing that. And then I got back into the life insurance side on a full-time basis with a firm that then started to grow and build like a network, really. And then over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, coming into the pandemic, recruited a couple of hundred brokers and sort of found an area that I was quite good at in terms of coaching and mentoring and getting people through and helping them sort of get businesses off the ground. So when the pandemic hit, I decided to sort of very much go out on my own and grow my own businesses. So I've sort of got an online estate agency business. I'm part of a DA brokerage as well. And I've helped a good number of people now go through the process of getting started, day one CMAP, finding a way into a firm, then becoming ARs, going into networks, and then when the ARs are ready, if they're ready to go DA, I've got a team in the back office that I've worked with where we help them go DA as well. And then OB1 Financial is kind of a recruitment and development company that specialises in that side of things, and it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I've got CMAP trainers that I work with who send me brokers as soon as they're qualified, and then I look to find them homes with businesses. And then I've got guys get to a certain level, become ARs in their own right with networks, and then other ARs are then wanting to go DA. And then when they go DA, they want to grow businesses and they want me to find brokers for them to start training and working with. So it all just dovetails in really nicely together. And the other bits I do in financial services, like the estate agents and stuff, again, it's just lead generation models, working with brokers, helping them sort of define what they do. It's just day-to-day, wall-to-wall conversations with brokers and hopefully generating more business for them. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell what we do.
Wow. So quite a lot thrown into the mix there in terms of what you're doing. I'm just trying to think of how you fit in your day-to-day life of what's going on with and how you manage that all, really, when you look at, like I said, the diversity of the business and what you do and how you manage it all, then is fair play. I take my hat off to you, because I know what it's like working, managing my firm and recording a few podcasts and doing a few other things branding wise and stuff like that. But it sounds like you've got a little bit more to worry about, shall we say, a little bit more to worry about. So
no, it's all good fun. I've never really been a fan of sleep, so I tend to the phone's ringing, I'm on the phone, and then evenings and weekends, and I do the admin and the marketing side and building it all together. So yeah, it keeps me busy. It's good fun.
One of the things you sort of say on your LinkedIn profile is that your phone's never off, never turned off. So I can understand why that's the case, and now given everything that sort of you've got going on.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I do say that to people that I work with. Unless I'm with my little girl or I'm asleep, I will, take the call. I've got a little better as I've got older at not picking up the phone when I'm with her. I try and dedicate that time to her. But yeah, she manages me well, shall I say?
I think people that are listening, thinking about time for families, time to do other things, I think it does get to a certain point where, I know I've gone through that recently, where I thought I do need some time to myself and think about what the priorities are in life. Why am I doing this? And I think it's just easy to get carried away riding the wave of being a business owner, having various fingers in various pies, but you've got to take stock of that and think, actually, why am I doing this? What's important to me? And like you say, you've got your little girl, and that's your driver and your motivation. And I think it's important that, and clearly you've sort of realised that, or you've always known that it's taking time for her and not worrying about your phone or anything like that when you're spending time with her, really.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's become really important to me. I mean, I've lost half access to her over the last couple of years. So it's about driving down and sort of making sure that time that I do have with her is really special. And doing so much all the time, it does drain on you. But time management is something that I've looked at in the last 2 or 3 months and sort of really drilled down into, and where do I focus my time? Where do I get my results? You don't have to be working every hour that God sends, as long as you're working hard and you're working smart, at the time that you've dedicated to those particular tasks. It has been quite a journey for me to learn that discipline, really. But I've actually seen my businesses do better through that approach, rather than a scattergun or I'm working every hour of the day. It's having more structure, and sticking to the structure has really paid off.
And that's really interesting to hear from you, Mag, sort of your realization of that. Is that something that you just thought about or read about, or just what was the sort of that tipping point moment to think, actually, this is something did you need to change, or was it just something that you just it's evolved over time?
Did. Yeah, I definitely need to change. I mean, I was getting to the point where I was probably sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night and trying to pack everything in, and just getting to the point where you didn't feel like you're making any progress, because you're busy all the time. But actually, when you strip back what you're doing and what that's giving you in terms of results, you can be a busy fool, for want of a better word. I mean, I read a couple of books, The Compound Effect was pretty good for me. Sort of small changes, tracking what you actually do in the day and the results you get out of it. And it was a question of assessing where I need to spend my time to get the right results. So I've pulled that back a little bit, put it into a daily and a weekly schedule, and I hold my self-account to that every day, and that really has helped. I mean, if I send you a Calendly link to have a set conversation with somebody, my calendar's only got slots at 1 and 2 o'clock in the day, so the rest of my day is spent dealing with stuff that's coming in, because people will ring me, or administration, coaching people, stuff like that. So I've structured my day very specifically to get the results I want.
And I think that's important when you're coaching people and you're helping people and they're learning from you and you're trying to help these people. It's about practicing what you preach as well at the same time. And so you can give, like, I know I've been sort of a devil for that sometimes, where you can be telling people, like advisors, how they should be structuring the day, how we should be doing this. Then I look at my own diary and think, why you don't really like that? Why you don't even sort of? But I had that realization a little while ago, thinking I was like you. It's just that you got to that certain point thinking, you need to get that structure. I think that's. Did you find that when you were sort of setting up yourself and go self-employed, that because one reason why I asked that question is because there's quite a few brokers that I speak to and a few brokers in the firm that I run, that they felt they came from an employed, structured world. They knew what they were doing, what time they had to be work, what time they were doing appointments and all those different things. You go self-employed, there's nobody giving you that structure. There's no structure forced upon you. So you tend to be a little bit all over the place of, well, what does my structure like? What should I be doing now? I feel guilty right now because I'm nipping to the shop, or I'm doing this or doing that, and not. So do you find that with brokers you work with and people you talk to?
Yeah, that's it. I think when you first go self-employed, from personal experience as well, it's like it's all on me. You know what I mean? It's like there isn't anyone sort of saying, "Look, this is like when you need to be in the office. This is when you work." So I've just found myself getting drawn into it because I love what I do. I'm always doing it, and like the pandemic as well, like it literally you live where you work, or I have for the last 12 to 18 months, I've not really been out anywhere. So it's like office to bedroom commutes, like 10 steps, you know what I mean? It's just easy to fall into that sort of habit, isn't it? It's like, I couldn't go to the gym. The gym's been a massive part of my life since I was 16 years old. And that was part of like pulling all the routine back. It was like the gyms are open. It's like you only need to go 3 times a week to feel a benefit from it. Like build that into your routine and then build your day around it, sort of thing. So, because I was getting to the end of every week and I was like, I've not been back to the gym yet and it's been open. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, right, come on, like have a look at this. Like what's important to you? What actually helps you drive results? So like I know if I'm training, I actually think a bit straighter. I can see things a bit clearer. Like if I can give myself that time, the actual rewards from taking that time out pay off. Like I don't feel guilty for having that time out. Don't feel guilty for having the time with your family. Like I think I worked almost 14 months solid before I took any time out. I had 2 or 3 days off over Christmas. And then I had a couple of weeks off running into my 40th. And like the first 3 or 4 days, I had inbox anxiety. I just couldn't like not look. Do you know what I mean? And I was like trying to spend time with my family, and I'm thinking, this is the worst thing I could do. I enjoy being at work more than I enjoy being with my kids. And I was like, no, something's got to change here. This is wrong. So yeah, pulling all the structure in. I mean, I actually like my kids. I like spending time with them. So it's like, being self-employed actually gives you that flexibility as well. So I've got a few things going on at the moment, and I've almost had to like park work so I can look after my kids more than I would do normally. And but my business is still doing okay because the structure's there. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm still sticking to it, but I'm just having to play around with it a little bit.
I think it is interesting to hear you sort of say what you said about the gym and how you felt after going to the gym, because I think there's a lot of people out there. I'm one of the worst with that, thinking you just get stuck into the routine of actually working and getting your head down, and by the time you know it, it's sort of like the end of the day or daft o'clock in the evening, and you're thinking, I just so and I wish I'd done something. Whereas, like, I think if people, like, I know people similar to you, and this for myself is that I enjoy running and I enjoy getting out on the run, like on a run, and I think making the time to do it, I just felt so much better about doing it after I'd done it, even though it was only sort of an hour out of my diary. I felt so much better the rest, like that evening. I felt so much better the next day. I'd slept better, and it's just so it is about investing that time in you in terms of having that time just to put some you time back into your diary, into your work life. And like you say, we go self-employed for that work-life balance because we can do that with things we want to do when we want to do them, but we can become the total opposite of that, and we can become slaves to it, really. But it's just trying to break that routine of doing something for yourself, which makes you feel better. Which is, like I say, interesting to hear you talk about that, Mike, because you've gone through a lot similar sort of thing to a lot of things that I hear from brokers, and I've gone through that myself.
Yeah, no, I say structure is really key, and because you've got structure, you can measure yourself. And I think that sometimes gets lost as well. So you can be focused so much on doing the salesy bit of it, and trying to get things over the line for customers. Sometimes you can lose focus on measuring your results and what's actually worked for you. And if you did more of that, would you get better results? And just focusing on the things that work well for you and actually grow your business, as opposed to doing everything you possibly can and just losing focus on what the actual end goal is. I think I've heard a few people say it, and it's something that I do think about when I'm working with guys and girls. Is what's the end result? So what do we want to achieve? And then how do we reverse engineer it? So if your goal is X amount a month, but you'd actually like to achieve that with Y amount of time, then how do we do that? Is that 10 mortgages? Is it 4 mortgages? Is it 4 life insurance policies? Is it GI policies? How do we build it all in? How do the commercials work? That's what I look at. It's so you've got, that's the end goal, and then all the way back to this is the starting line. Do you know what I mean? And I do that. I assess that plan probably monthly on myself, time phrase wise, and contacts on a weekly to daily basis. But on a monthly basis, that was the goal we set out with. This was how we looked to engineer it. Did that actually work? And if not, what do we need to change? And if it did, how can we improve it even further? So next month I can do X plus 20%. It's having your eye on that. And it's difficult because when it's just you, there's a lot. You want to do your marketing. You can outsource things to certain people, but you've still got to be involved with the process. So you've got to really be quite sort of departmental in things. It's marketing's going to take X hours this week. Fact finds are going to take Y, and recommendations are going to take Z. And it's how do you build your day and build your week to succeed. So that's one of the things that I do with people. It's as well as the time management. I've spoken to some really successful brokers who want to grow, and they're I'm too busy to grow. But I know if I had, but if I had more time, I could generate more business. So we're well, what about an administrator? Or what about a trainee broker? And they're not even a trainee broker, someone who's a fairly solid broker, but not generating as much business as they wanted. It's but then I'd have to share my commission with them. I'm well, work out how much you'd have to share. And if you share half, but you can do twice as much, then you're no worse off financially, are you? And you're actually getting to spend the time on growing your business and doing the things you want to do. So it's easy for somebody outside in to have a look at things, take the bonnet off, I normally say, and have a look at the engineering and stuff and just play around with it. So
yeah. So when you we've understood a little bit about what OB1 is and what it is with all the different things you've sort of got going on, but what made you sort of think this is something I want to create and this is something I want to do?
I've worked with a few other people and helped a few other people sort of grow their businesses and do things, but more on a one-to-one basis rather than I can do this for a few other people. I can help more than just one or two. You'll see on my LinkedIn, I'm sort of very much about helping people. I think if you can help enough people get what they want, you actually achieve what you want in life. So I had a look at it. I've got kids that are like turning 18. I've got a little girl who's 7. And I wanted to be able to get to a position where if there's a day that I want to take out and just spend with my daughter, because she'll soon be 18 and not really want to spend any time with me, but I can do that by helping a lot of people achieve what they want, because it'll help me get what I want, if that makes sense. So I work with a few firms. I've got recruitment contracts. I've got I do a lot of like affiliate marketing. I've got to a position where I have very little going out in terms of overheads, and I'm starting to invest in things that generate monthly income so I can get to that position now almost only after 12 months work, where if I can't work again, I've got enough to pay all my bills. Do you know what I mean? So so that was the driving force behind it. It was like, I really want to get to a position where I'm financially comfortable, because I've lived from like month to month for probably the first 38 years of my life. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, there's got to be a different way. And it is a really short space of time. It's crazy, but I'm taking complete control, and it's helping other people to maybe have a look at that and see how they can do that as well. So, and
it's quite sorry, Mike. I can sort of see from your point of view, like helping people is what basically you do, and that's core to you and your beliefs, and that is clear to see. So, in terms of your mindset and your work ethic and everything else, it's all about helping people, which is quite refreshing in the sort of the selfish world that we have. And in that sort of selfish world is probably a bit strong, but like everybody's out for themselves, the time is of the essence and stuff like that. Whereas you're talking about this, like from helping people get the CMAP to getting into financial services to generating their own brand and business, going directly authorized, like working with estate agents and that sort of thing. Everything about what you do is helping people, which is quite unique, really.
No, thanks, Craig. Appreciate that. I mean, honestly, I've obviously monetized those avenues. I've got business partners that I work with. I've built my own business. I use those partners. I trust them to deliver the level of service that I've wanted, and I know my business is growing off the back of relationships with them. So I'm really open with people, and I'll say, look, the development work I do with people is generally free of charge. Like, I don't charge for that time. I'll put an hour aside and I'll do a coaching session with somebody, and we'll have a look at stuff and I'll see how I can help them. And I'll introduce them to the people that I work with. Now, I was saying about those affiliate marketing deals. Now, if you choose to work with them because you can see the value in what they do as well, then obviously I get something out of that in terms of remuneration, So it's one of those things. It's just making the best of everything I've got in front of me, and if that can help them grow and do what they want to do, then believe it or not, what's going to happen is when they want to find somebody to work within their business, they'll come and ask me to find that person, and I'll charge for that service, like anyone else would, So there's just a flow and a rhythm to what I've put together. That's how I see it anyway. It just makes sense. It's like, if I can help these people get where they want to be, then they'll need to hopefully engage my services on the recruitment side to get where they want to be, and then they'll be helping and coaching people, and they'll be taking people off CMAP training courses that would otherwise maybe struggle to get into the industry because they've been through that development process themselves. So it's like I'm putting back into the business that pays me a living, if that makes sense, like back into the industry. So that's how I see it, and hopefully it will just continue like that over time, and it will just grow naturally,
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite funny that you and I, we've been talking for a little while now. The whole idea of the podcast was to hear about OB1 and helping people go directly authorized, which we've heard a little bit, and we'll get into a bit more detail about that very quickly. But we've gone off piece quite quickly. We've gone off sort of on a different tangent, which I expected anyway, given everything that you do and the way that you are and your mindset and the conversations that we've had, like the brief ones we've had in the past and a more detailed one that we had. It was good to get you on the podcast because you've got a very sort of clear business model that you work to. You've got a structure to your work to. You've got a process that you work to, and you've gone through that learning fairly quickly. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are listening thinking, I need to have time with my family. I need to do things that are important to me. I do want to grow. I want to do all these things. And sort of, you do help people to pull it together nicely. But one thing that I really sort of do want to look at is like the directly authorized, because you help people go directly authorized as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something I do. Because people will get to a point where they're looking at that as an option, and there is a tipping point. I normally say that there are 3 drivers to somebody sort of coming and having a look at directly authorized, and it's like, well, there's probably one main driver, and that's a change. So something's changed where they are, which has caused them to think about what they want to achieve for the future. So it normally comes back to 3 things. So like commercials have changed, like, so they're thinking, can do better than what I'm getting right now. The systems or the processes that they have to work under have changed. So there might have been like a CRM system, or the support's changed. So they're used to getting well supported, and then something happens within the business and the support's not there anymore. So it's like, well, actually, would it be better off doing this for myself? And that's what starts people thinking about going the directly authorized route, because they're like, well, I've done this for years. I've got a great client bank. I don't take anything off anybody. I generate all my own business, so nothing would change if I went directly authorized. I'd still be generating all my own business. I'm amazing at compliance, everything I do. Like, I'm really comfortable with the process. I've been doing that for years, and there are external compliance companies that can come in and check that you're doing what you do and you're doing it correctly to keep you safe anyway, and then the system's like, well, I'm stuck with this system that's from the dark ages, and like, we're now fully digitalized, and it's like, I've got plans to grow, and like, I'm restricted where I am with the system. So it's like that, if I'm DA, I've got full autonomy. I can choose whatever systems I want to use. I can do within reason whatever marketing I want to do, as long as it's compliant. And then the costs, it's like, well, what are the costs? And that's what someone will come and have a chat to me about. It's like, well, how much does it cost me to go DA? What's involved with it? What do I need to consider? What are the processes? And that's what I would look at them with. And I'd have a look at like the last sort of 2 or 3 years revenue. And obviously we've just gone through COVID, so there's a little bit of a blip there. But we would have a look at that, and we would have a look at like, where are they operating through currently? Are they under a network? What's the network costing structure? Like, what are the proc fees you get there? What are the commission rates you'll get DA? And we push that through, the financial formulas, and we have a look at it, and we're like, well, this is what you'd stand to lose if you went DA, or this is what you'd stand to gain. And we look at the pros and cons. And it's like, you might be slightly better off financially under the network, but it's frustrating the hell out of you, and it's taking up too much more of your time to like do the business you want to do. And it's that sort of, we look at the trade-offs, yeah. And that's what I do with them. I sit with them, I look at that plan, and we have a look at whether or not it's a viable option, and because of the other work that I do with a number of other businesses, if DA is not a viable option, it's like, well, is where you are the best option? Like, what's really frustrating you where you are, and can you change that, or can you not change it? And is it a big enough reason to move camp? And I can have a look at all that with them subjectively, because I'm just sat there like, it doesn't matter to me where you go. I've got agreements with everybody. So if the best place is for you to be in Camp A, then, we have a chat about Camp A. If it's not, if it's Camp D, then I can talk to you about that, and ultimately I'll just look to support you in whatever choice is best for you. And that's how it's structured.
And that's good. And I think you're right in what you're saying. I think the way that you come across, Mike, is very genuine around that. There's no hidden agenda with you in terms of the discussions they have. And you've got a very similar sort of viewpoint to myself, and a podcast from the other week, which is another very experienced guy from Mortgage Services, and he recruits, and we talked about people having the options. And so people come and see you, think about going DA, you look at the different options they have, and ultimately it's their decision. You've got no hidden agenda. You're not looking from a sales pitch point of view. You're not thinking, oh, if I get them to do this, I'm going to get this, or they're going to do that. You're doing it from a very honest and open way of doing it, and giving that person the best advice you can with no hidden agenda. So which is great. That's exactly what people want in that time. Is I talk all the time about people's options. It's just people want options. People want to know what the choices are they have to make, and let them make the choices. Because if you start saying to them, well, this is what you need to do, then the sort of the authenticity then is a little bit tarnished, because they're thinking, well, why are you trying to push me that? Is there something that ulterior motive that you got to push me that way? Whereas for you, it's a very open discussion. You're looking at, from a business point of view, where they are now, where they want to look to go to, and whether DA or other options that you work with is right for them.
Yeah, exactly that. Like I say, I've 30, 40 different companies that I've worked with across financial services doing things over the years. And I just make those connections. I just let, if that's what you're looking at, have a chat to so-and-so. If that's what you're looking at, have a chat to so-and-so, and it's ultimately up to them what fits best with their business model, and what systems they're most comfortable with using. Because some systems might be too techy, and they need something a little bit more basic. So it's a question of working out what best fits for them, and like I say, those choices are theirs. They've got the full autonomy to do that. I've got a really fantastic compliance partner who will help us get people DA, and she is brilliant. So if it's the right road for somebody to go down, I will introduce them to her, and then she manages the process through with them to sort of authorization, and then that time frame at the moment is anywhere between sort of 4 to 6 months. So in that time frame, I can be working with them on like putting the website together, sort of choosing the marketing partner, having a look at everything, getting it ready to launch basically as soon as the authorization comes through. So that's it. It's just
okay. Fantastic. Is there anything else we've missed off, or anything else that you do? Because we've covered quite a lot today, and you've talked a lot of things about the various things that you're doing, which is quite a lot. So, is anything that we've missed off, Mike? Anything else that you're doing?
No.
You're not playing in the Euros or anything like that at the moment. You're not doing anything like that. No,
I've shelved the football career. No. I put that on ice a while ago. No. That's it. I mean, there's sort of like 3 or 4 core things that I do, and like that's it now. Sort of focus on those. Like I say, I really enjoy it. The way I see it, everything dovetails in together, and it can all help the broker. That's what I built the business around. So
yeah, I think that's it. The broker is the centric part of everything that you do. So that is good. Great to see. In terms of, I'm sorry now, listening to this, thinking I want to go DA. I'm thinking about it being something I've been looking at doing. How's the best way to contact you? Through LinkedIn or mobile? Or?
Yeah, just grab me on LinkedIn. Contact details are on my LinkedIn page as well. So emails on there, mobiles on there. However you feel most comfortable in approaching me, just drop me a line, and we can get something in the diary. I'll just have an initial chat and just see where you're up to and what you want to achieve. So
fantastic. Mike, thanks ever so much for your time. Really appreciate you sort of taking time out of your busy schedule, planned and structured schedule, but your busy schedule, and just really sort of sharing with everybody about who you are and your sort of journey and what you're doing right now, along like with a lot of things that you're doing right now. But I think what's clearly coming across is you're very open, honest, and so like I said, the brokers that the centric part to everything that you do. So I think if anybody's thinking about going DA and wants to have a chat, I think the first protocol is picking up hitting your LinkedIn, picking up the phone, speaking to you, and having a very informal conversation about what options are right for them. And like you said, you will give those options. So I appreciate your time and your honest feedback, mate. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries. Appreciate the opportunity to come and have a chat, Craig. Thanks for that, mate. Brilliant. I'll speak to you soon.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for your time, Mike, and I'll speak to you soon. Are you an experienced mortgage advisor who is looking to go alone and set up your own firm? Is owning your own brand and business important to you? Do you keep putting off the decision because you just don't know where to start? Let me explain the My Brand, My Way programme. This is aimed at experienced advisors who are looking to go alone and set up their own brand and business. So what does the My Brand, My Way programme offer? First of all, you still receive the rates you would as if you went direct to a network, and these also improve as you grow. You pay a monthly fee which includes your compliance, indemnity, CRM and all your licenses. You would still own your own brand, your own clients and your own business, and you're still creating your own legacy. The difference is you get my help, support and coaching in not only setting up your business and brand, I will also help you grow. If that is something of interest to you, please get in touch and so we can arrange an informal discussion.